My name is Jai,
Hi, I'm Angela.
and we're the Haulks. So where do you want to start?
So I guess we should just start where at the beginning.
Okay.
We were babies, got married.
I was 21.
21, I was 24. And
You got to marry older so they can cook.
the week we celebrated our wedding was also
Our
like
year,
our 1 year anniversary together as a couple. Knew that we wanted to have kids right away. We got married in August.
She was going to provide me a football team.
Yes. You know, everybody has those conversations when you're dating about like, how many kids do you want? And do you want boys? Do you want girls? What are the names going to be?
No.
Jai said he wanted a football team. I said I only wanted one child. So we settled on two.
I got my offense and defense. Wasn't quite what I was thinking originally, but
So we just decided that we wanted to quickly start a family. We got married in August, and by Labor Day, we were done. We were like, okay, let's have a baby.
well, 6 years later,
Yeah.
we were actually looking to go buy a motorcycle because we had almost given up, and through many times of times of Angela being upset and hurt by not hurt on anybody else's part, but just her sisters, where they had babies very easily.
Trying to figure out like why were we not getting pregnant? Why?
Yeah.
What was wrong with us? Were we just meant to be the cool aunt and uncle?
But when God puts it on your heart to have a family and to have kids, that's just something that you really want. So when you see others have it, it breaks your heart some. And the day came when you got a phone call from one of the elders' wives from the church.
She was one of our best friends, Holly.
Yeah. So she called and let us know, hey, there's a child that's available through foster care. Would you like to meet him? We had talked about adopting for a long time, really.
Yeah, when we were dating and early in our marriage, we talked about adopting. We had decided that we wanted to have a biological child first, and then to adopt. Adoption had always been on our heart.
Yeah. Now, one thing that wasn't on our radar was foster care. I didn't have any experience with anybody in my school growing up that had been through foster care. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in my family. Like, it's just something that didn't ever cross my radar in life.
And then along those same talks, we also then found out about Isaiah.
Yep.
And they
said, hey, can you come and sit down in the foyer of the church and get to know this family and get to meet Isaiah? And he was 2 weeks old.
Not quite 2 weeks old when we met him. He was about a week old when we met him.
He was about a week old. So we sat down on these couches in the church foyer, and I watched Angela hold a baby, and I was like, this is it. And for me, I don't know how it felt for her, but for me in that process, it was a little bit of God talking with me of saying, hey, you guys have talked about adoption. You've talked about having kids. I know you said you want to have one of your own, but I'm presenting you with a family, and are you going to take it or not?
Yeah.
And I'm giving you an option to be a family, to be a parent. Are you going to take it?
Yeah. We contacted them, and they got us enrolled in some foster care classes, and we started down that journey. And when Isaiah was exactly 2 weeks old, he got to come live with us. And
which is a little backwards. We had 24 hours or so to put together a nursery. Yeah. Most people have 9 months.
To get a crib, to get a diaper bag, to get bottles.
Everybody's story is different, so please don't think that every story is going to look like ours. But part of our story was we talked a lot about how it was going to work to meet with Isaiah's birth mom. Every so often, at this point, it was going to start with once a week. So we would talk a little things about trying to, like, how to get a job, what type of home setting you need to have to be approved to have Isaiah come back and live with her, the kind of friends that she would spend time with, the kind of lifestyle that she was leading that was leading up to her losing Isaiah to begin with. So it was tough. It was tough to have those conversations. Sometimes we were allowed all the way in the courtroom, and sometimes we weren't. We had to wait outside the doors and kind of just hear what was going on.
It was around Thanksgiving, Christmas time, and Isaiah would have been just a few months old, and they said that the judge said, well, maybe the sugar plum fairy will just come move this baby in the middle of the night. And it was devastating to us.
Yeah. I remember we walked. And for that reason, actually, we were in the middle of a foster care class when the social worker told us that's the statement that the judge had made. And they told us that literally right before the foster care class. So we both just sat there like this, like just almost numb, like not even paying attention to what was going on. And we pulled away and pulled over in a parking lot and just just cried. Just bawled because we didn't know what to do, and you'd say like, "How can I?"
Probably the lowest of the lows of our marriage.
Yeah, we're more like, "How do we go home and take care of a baby?" Knowing most likely, who knows, in the middle of the night he's going to be gone. They're just going to take him away. So we were fostering Isaiah. He was 4 months old. So I get a phone call from this number. I'm driving home from the gym, I think, and it was a voice I didn't know, and she's introduced herself. And she said, hey, I met with your mom in your church foyer, and I was overhearing her talking about you two and your prayers to have a baby. And she said, so I wondered if you'd be willing to adopt my unborn child. I remember asking her, I said, well, how far along are you? When are you due? And she said, in 3 months.
And we started doing the math really quickly in our heads, and we were like,
Isaiah's 4 months old plus 3 months.
So we're gonna go from 0 to 2 babies in 6 months?
Yeah.
Like
7.
For 7 months?
Yeah.
We had all these people praying for babies for 6 years. And so he's holding Lucy and he looks down at her and he says, can we stop praying for babies now? I said, yes, please. Please stop. Stop.
There was my offense and defense.
Yeah. It was a very different process with Lucy.
But we left the hospital with crazy picture of both of us. I mean, leaving the hospital with 2 babies, essentially.
One in a pumpkin seat and one in a stroller.
And I remember putting the same thing. We put them back in the van and was like, what do we do now?
What do we do now? We went back in May, and we're still in the process of fostering Isaiah. And I would say probably in June is when the plan finally changed. August 30th of 2011 is when we got to adopt Isaiah. So he was just a couple weeks shy of being 2 years old. Jeremiah 29:11 is my life verse, and how God has plans for us, and we make our own plans. And I'm very type A. I'm a planner. I'm a checklist person. And I had my picture perfect idea of what a family was supposed to look like in my head when I got married. And that's not the way that God planned it.
It wasn't the traditional route to a family, but foster care and adoption, it has its joy, and it has its brutal. We know the story isn't done, like our journey as a family isn't done, and our journey even as adoptive parents isn't done because they're
foster parents. We've talked about fostering now. And we kind of have a different outlook on it now. God blessed us with these 2 kids that we're able to raise. Maybe we need to open up our home and have be foster parents to someone that just needs a home for a little bit.
One day God's gonna settle our agreement. I want a teenager. She wants a newborn. Or maybe,
not a newborn, no
maybe
more
a toddler.
Babies.
No more babies. He'll settle that agreement one day. Somebody will come into our lives and we'll have to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially that's what foster care and adoption is, that God has provided many children, and for lots of people that are wanting to be a family, God's just asking you, do you really want to be a family? And I believe that's what God asked of us, and He put children in our path and said, here they are. I want you to raise them. Yeah. We're the Haulks, and we believe that God is still working through foster care and adoption.